scorching sun reflected off the salty seawater, gently rocking the small drifting boat. The woman slowly opened her eyes, feeling the discomfort of the heat and the sticky sensation of wet clothes clinging to her body. She had no idea who she was or how she had ended up in this situation. Her heart began to race as anxiety took hold, trying to piece together the fragments of her blank mind. She surveyed her surroundings with frightened eyes. There was nothing but the blue sky and the vast ocean around her. No land in sight, no sign of help. She ran her hand through her dark, wet hair, searching for any clues, but all she found was a silver chain necklace around her neck, adorned with a star-shaped pendant. No name, no memories, just a star. She decided to call herself Estella, a reference to the mysterious pendant. If there was any connection between her and that piece of jewelry, it remained buried somewhere in her blank mind. As the days turned into nights, Estella struggled to survive on the boat. She found some limited provisions. Hunger and thirst became her constant companions, but the hardest battle was against the uncertainty of her identity. Fragments of memories occasionally surfaced. A smiling face, a place with tall trees and contagious laughter, but none of it formed a complete picture. One cloudy morning, as she scanned the horizon, something appeared in the distance. An island was in sight. Estella's heart raced. Finally, she would have somewhere to step beyond the small boat. Upon reaching the shore, Estella disembarked, exhausted but relieved. The island seemed isolated and mysterious, shrouded in dense vegetation. While exploring the jungle, she found signs of human life. Remnants of recent campfires and fresh footprints hinted that she wasn't alone. Estella continued her search for answers on this enigmatic island, but each discovery only raised more questions. She found a small abandoned camp with torn clothing and personal items left behind. It was as if someone had left in a hurry. During her explorations, Estella began to feel as though she was being watched. An unsettling sensation followed her through the trees. Every shadow seemed to hide an elusive presence, but whenever she tried to catch sight of someone, there was nothing but the dense vegetation of the island. The fragments of memories became more frequent and vivid. A familiar face emerged in her mind, a man with dark hair and piercing eyes. He seemed connected to her somehow. Was he an ally or a threat? This uncertainty began to gnaw at her sanity. One rainy night, while seeking shelter, Estella stumbled upon a hidden cave. Inside she found traces of a recent human presence, food scraps and a crumpled photograph showing her smiling beside the same man from her fragmented memories. Reality was beginning to take shape, but what should have been comforting only deepened the mystery. Why couldn't she remember the man, and what had happened to him? Each answer led to more questions, and Estella realized that her search for identity and truth might be more dangerous than she had ever imagined. Determined to lift the veil of amnesia, she pressed on, but what she would uncover could shatter everything she thought she knew about herself and her past. As Estella continued her search for answers on the island, signs that something was amiss became more evident. Distant engine noises and explosions lit up the night sky. Something serious was happening, and a sense of urgency overtook her. She decided to follow the tracks she had found to an abandoned base. There she stumbled upon a horrific scene. Dozens of men lay dead, partially dismembered. Blood and body parts were scattered across the ground and walls. The lack of decay suggested the tragedy had occurred recently. Estella slowly backed away, heading toward the beach. Estella realized she needed to leave as quickly as possible. The island was not safe. Gathering what little she could find, she hurried to the boat, rowing out to the open sea. The sea was relentless and lonely, testing Estella's limits. The sun burned her skin, and her thirst was insatiable. Despite her efforts, she found no islands or signs of rescue. The ocean solitude was her only companion. As days passed, she consumed the last of her food and water. Hope began to fade. She watched the sky every night. The explosions and mysterious lights still illuminated the horizon. Weakened to the extreme, she fought to stay conscious as the elements tested her willpower. When hope was nearly extinguished, something unexpected happened. During sunset, as her eyes fixed on the horizon, she spotted another empty drifting boat. There were no supplies on the boat, no sign of survivors. It must have broken free from another vessel. The intense darkness made navigation difficult. The lights and explosions in the sky unsettled her. Days turned into weeks as Estella sailed the seas, braving storms, hunger, and despair. Finally, when her hopes were nearly gone, a landmass appeared on the horizon. This time, not an island, but what seemed to be a continent. As Estella approached, the explosions and lights in the sky grew more intense, signaling the ferocity of a war raging in the region. Landing on an abandoned beach, Estella disembarked silently and crept among the ruins. From afar, she observed the invading creatures, giant snake-like beings with sharp teeth. They devoured people mercilessly, leaving only destruction and death behind. Estella realized how vulnerable she was, overcome by a sense of helplessness. Her survival instincts urged her to retreat to the boat and flee before it was too late. However, fate had other plans. As she tried to return silently to the boat, her eyes locked with the cold gaze of one of the creatures. For a moment, everything seemed to freeze until the monster let out a terrifying roar. Estella ran to the boat, rowing with all her might. The invaders pursued her relentlessly, their hunger for another human victim evident in their ravenous eyes. The waters churned around her, making her feel small and fragile against those terrifying beings. For what felt like an eternity, Estella fought to escape, leaving the devastated land behind. The creatures didn't seem to be strong swimmers. Rowing frantically, she managed to keep a safe distance. However, exhaustion overtook her, her muscles unable to save her any longer. The creatures closed in for a certain feast. Suddenly, one of the monsters was dragged underwater. A school of great white sharks appeared and began devouring the creatures. Estella, drained and on the brink of collapse, had her arms partly submerged in the water. The sharks didn't touch her. Her final vision was of a shark's eye partially above the surface. Watching her, she returned the gaze with a heartfelt "thank you."